When you hear the word fat, do you think of negative things? Well, fat is actually an essential nutrient, just like carbohydrate and just like protein. So we do need it. What's important to know is that not all fats are created equally, and it's important that you choose the right type of fat, the healthy fats, and kind of limit the unhealthy fats. In today's video, I'm going to talk all about fat, its functions, and there is quite a lot of important functions, the types of fats, what types are good and what types are bad, and then also the sources, so the foods that we can get fat from, and also why should you bother swapping out bad fats, which taste good, with good fats, which also taste good. Hi, my name is Sorcha. I'm a nutritionist and healthy lifestyle blogger from Ireland. And on my channel, I help make healthy living simple because it doesn't have to be complicated. Like I said, in today's video, we're going to talk all about fats, dietary fats. First of all, the functions. And fat does have a lot of important functions. Now, first of all, fat does give us energy, but it isn't the body's preferred source of energy. That is carbohydrate. 1 gram of fat gives you double the amount of energy that 1 gram of carbohydrate or 1 gram of protein would. So it gives us 9 calories per gram. So it is very energy dense. Fat also helps us stay warm. So a layer of fat under the skin called adipose tissue insulates our body. So people who are very, very thin or don't eat a lot of fat or enough fat in their diet often find that they're cold all the time. Fat makes up cholesterol. Now cholesterol, we need it. It's just too much of the bad type of cholesterol, which I'll get into later, as it can cause clogged up arteries and whatnot. Also, fat is part of vitamin D. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin anyway, but we need fat in our bodies to make it from the sun and also get it from food. Fat is also a structural component of a lot of other important substances in our bodies. It also protects delicate organs that aren't protected by bones. So our lungs are protected by our ribs, so they don't need a layer of fat to protect them. But our kidneys aren't protected by any bones there, so they're covered in a layer of fat. And that's protection against trauma. Our bodies are made up of billions and trillions of cells, and fat is part of the structure of your cells. Your cell membrane is made up of fats. I'm not going to get into the whole structural thing, but it's an important structural component for a lot of our body. 60% of our brain is made of fat. I mentioned vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. That means that you need fat for it to be absorbed in our bodies. So there are 3 other ones. There are vitamin A, vitamin E, and vitamin K are also fat-soluble vitamins. You get these from foods that contain fat. So you need to eat foods that contain fat in order to get these vitamins. Fat has been linked with bad heart health, but that is saturated fat. Like I said, we're going to get into the different types. The other type of fat, unsaturated fat or healthy fat, actually does the opposite. It improves heart health. And then the polyunsaturated fat, omega-3, which you probably associate with fish oil and that, it has a lot of health benefits, what we will go into a little bit in this video as well. So that's a long list of functions for one nutrient to do, which is why cutting out fat from your diet completely just isn't a good idea. So as you can see, there are many different types of fats, and I have circled here in green the fats that we would consider healthy fats, the unsaturated fats, and then the saturated fats are over on the right hand side. But as you can see, trans fats are on the unsaturated side because technically trans fats are unsaturated, but they have the same health adverse health effects as saturated fats would have, and you find them in the same foods that you would find saturated fats. Sources of saturated fat include red meat, fried foods, pastries, cakes, chocolate, cured meats like pepperoni, salami, chorizo, butter, cheese, palm oil, and coconut oil. So like I said, saturated fat and trans fats are the types of fats that should be avoided. So they're the types of fats you would get from animal products like meat, and yes, you do get it in dairy. Now it depends. Cheese is very high in saturated fat, but milk, even full fat milk, is actually naturally low in fat. The fat it contains is saturated, but it is naturally low in fat. So if you're going for milk and you really just want to go for skimmed milk or low fat milk, that's fine. But if you don't like the taste of those milk, instead of cutting out milk completely, a glass of full fat milk is still quite low in fat anyway. Also, your pastries, your cakes, your biscuits, your fried foods, your takeaways are all really high in saturated fats and some trans fats. These fats cause major health issues with your heart, but they can also, especially saturated fat, lead to type 2 diabetes because of insulin resistance. So it has been found that diets high in saturated fat, or even just eating a meal that's very high in saturated fat, causes the insulin not to work as efficiently as it should, meaning that your blood sugars go up. And if this happens often, this will lead to type 2 diabetes. And just to clarify this, that cardiovascular disease or heart disease is the #1 killer worldwide, and it has been for a while. So cutting out or cutting down on saturated fat and trans fats, it will improve your health so much. Now, I don't like cutting out things and not replacing them. If you're going to cut out something, it's a good idea to replace it, because then you don't feel like you're depriving yourself. You're just swapping out something. And studies have shown that replacing saturated fats with unsaturated fats or whole grains improves or lowers your risk, of heart disease by a substantial amount. So replacing as little as 5% of your calorie intake that you would usually get from saturated fat with monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fats, or whole grains can lower your risk of heart disease. If you replace them with monounsaturated fats, it'll lower it by 15%. If you replace them with polyunsaturated fats, it'll lower your risk by 25%. And if you replace them with whole grains, it will lower your risk by 9%. So replacing the saturated fats with unsaturated or whole grains will lower your risk of getting heart disease. Sources of monounsaturated fat include nuts, avocados, canola oil, olive oil, sunflower oil, peanut oil and peanut butter, and sesame oil. Sources of polyunsaturated fat include all your oily fish like salmon, tuna, mackerel, trout. Then you've got your walnuts, sunflower seeds, flax seeds and flax oil, corn oil, soybean oil, and safflower oil. Now for some of the health benefits and reasons why you should swap out the saturated fats with the unsaturated fats. So polyunsaturated fats and your omega-3s have been found to help treat, and even in some cases help reverse the effects of heart disease, which is a great thing. A lot of people, when they are suffering from heart disease or problems with blood pressure and high cholesterol, their dietitian or doctor would put them on what's called the DASH diet. This is actually the Mediterranean diet, and it's full of like healthy fats, it's full of fruit and vegetables, it's mostly plant-based, so there's not a lot of red meat in it. And it has loads of olive oil, nuts and seeds, and oily fish. So it's full of your omega-3s, your polyunsaturated fats, which is why it's so good for your heart health. Increasing your unsaturated fat intake and lowering your saturated fat intake will also help lower LDL cholesterol. LDL cholesterol is the bad cholesterol. It's the cholesterol that causes clogged arteries and that leads to strokes and heart attacks. Unsaturated fats also increase HDL cholesterol. HDL cholesterol is the good cholesterol. It's the cholesterol that goes round and it mops up the excess bad cholesterol. So unsaturated fats will help increase the good cholesterol, which will help decrease the bad cholesterol. Unsaturated fats will also help lower triglycerides in the blood. Triglycerides are a type of fat, but when they build up in the blood, they can cause our arteries to harden, and this leads to what's called atherosclerosis. And then when your arteries harden, they're not as flexible and the blood can't get through it, and it can lead to stroke. Polyunsaturated fats, especially omega-3, have been known to help with joint health. So if you have arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis and you have painful joints, taking a supplement or increasing your intake from fish or food sources of omega-3 can help with joint pain and also with joint health. Now I'm talking a lot about omega-3, and that is the fatty acid that a lot of us lack in. Omega-6 is also a polyunsaturated fatty acid, but we tend to get enough of it, and it's kind of like a ratio that you want. You want a ratio between omega-3 and omega-6, and currently most people get way too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3. Omega-6 is in a lot of foods. It's in poultry, it's in eggs, it's in whole grains, it's in nuts, it's in seeds, it's in a lot of foods. So a lot of us find it very easy to get enough omega-6, but it's more difficult to get enough omega-3s. Now the problem here is that omega-6 is actually pro-inflammatory. Now, pro-inflammatory sounds bad, but we do need inflammation in our body at certain times. It's our immune system's way of, it's a defense system in our immune system. So if we have too much inflammation, that's when problems occur. Omega-3, on the other hand, is anti-inflammatory. So we want more of it because we don't want to have inflamed joints, or we don't want excess inflammation in our body. And when you get too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, you will find that inflammation might be a problem for you. Which is why omega-3 is great for joint health, because usually it's inflammation in the joints that is causing the pain. Fat is also a flavour carrier. That's why a lot of the times when you get foods that are fat-free or low-fat, they don't taste as nice as the original version. Fats can make food taste nicer. They also make the meal more filling and keep you full for longer. So adding in those healthy fats will make your meal taste good, and it will keep you fuller for longer. And like I said, fat is a very energy dense nutrient. It gives us twice the amount of calories as a gram of carbohydrate or protein would, so it will keep you going for longer. Some ways of knowing where you're not getting enough fat in your diet is you might find that your eyesight is not great, like night blindness. That's because vitamin A is very important for eyesight, and vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. Infertility as well, swollen gums, your hair might start to thin out. It might be very dry and break easily. Your skin might be very dry as well. You might find you bruise very easily. You're always cold. Muscle cramps, depression, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, and low levels of vitamin D can lead to feelings of depression. Also, loose teeth and dental problems in general. So there are quite a lot of issues that could be to do with not having enough fat in your diet. Obviously, they can be for different reasons, but those would be a few things that you'd need to look out for. Also, if you feel like you're just always hungry, maybe you need to look at your nutrient, kind of how much carbs, how much protein, how much fat you're actually taking in. If your diet is like 90% carbohydrates and then a little bit of 10% protein, or 5% protein and 5% fat, that's not enough protein or fat, and that's probably why you're hungry all the time, because carbs won't keep you full for that long. So there you go. Fats are an important part of a healthy, balanced diet, so we do need them in our diet. It's just choosing the right type of fat. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I put up any more videos. Bye!